Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Irvin, and Skip Bayless on Undisputed. They're talking their Super Bowl predictions. Spoiler alert, Keyshawn picks the Saints. So I'm not going to feign excitement or surprise. This was spoiled in a comment. This was a request from a commenter. I haven't watched the video, but I do know that Keyshawn's about to pick the Saints. Now look, before we get into that, the Saints have been a forgotten franchise for the last couple of years. And that's what happens whenever you roll out Andy Dalton, Trevor Siemian, Jameis Winston as your starting quarterbacks. That's what happens when Dennis Allen's your head coach. You're a forgotten team. Sean Payton's moved on. Drew Brees has moved on. The media has moved on. The mass media has moved on. We haven't moved on. Okay. The Saints, to me, within the first month of the season, unless all hell breaks loose and I'm just wrong about everything, within the first month of the season, you'll start to see Saints pop up on top 10 power ranking lists, top 5 lists, because once they prove that Derek Carr works, and everyone here thinks that Derek Carr will work, once Derek Carr proves that he'll work, and they're watching Derek Carr, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, the defense with Demario Davis and Marshawn Lattimore and Tyrann Mathieu and Pete Werner, once all that's happening, and you factor in how easy their schedule is, and you factor in how easy the division is, it's going to be hard to not focus on the Saints as a pick for the NFC. You are basically guaranteeing, and I understand that guarantees aren't a thing, stuff happens, but you're virtually guaranteeing to host a playoff game. There is no other team in the NFL that can say that. Even the best teams, the Eagles. Would anyone be shocked if Dallas won the division? No. The Chiefs. The Chiefs just got beat last night to the Lions. Would anyone be shocked if the Chargers or the Broncos took a step forward and they won that division? No. The Jaguars play in one of the worst divisions in the NFL. Would anyone be shocked if the Titans won that division? No. I would be shocked if the Falcons, the Bucks, or the Panthers won the division. The only way they do that is if the Saints are terrible. The only way they do that is if Derek Carr does not work, Pete Carmichael gets fired, and Dennis Allen gets fired. That's it. If the Saints are good, I think they will be, we're virtually guaranteed a playoff game. When you're guaranteed a playoff game and possibly guaranteed home field advantage because your schedule is so weak, you are a strong Super Bowl contender. And remember, this is obvious, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, Jets, Dolphins, all those possible Super Bowl teams, they're in the AFC. They're completely irrelevant in this conversation. We're talking about winning the NFC, getting to the Super Bowl. So who's in that conversation? Eagles, Niners, Cowboys, Vikings. That's a whole lot easier than the other side.
On the NFC side, I don't have the Dallas Cowboys. I don't have the Philadelphia Eagles. I do not have the San Francisco 49ers. I have the New Orleans Saints.
We don't need to hear, King.
What, the who?
The New Orleans Saints.
Wait, stop. Oh, stop.
The New
Stop.
Orleans Saints?
Stop,
Okay,
King.
well,
Wait, are they still playing football in New Orleans?
Okay, so
See what I'm talking about? Now, obviously, this is over-dramatized. And I do like Michael Irvin, by the way. Michael Irvin's one of the guys that I do think is funny. This character he's created. Michael Irvin, I do enjoy. And Skip Bayless just said it perfectly, ladies and gentlemen. Are they still playing football down in New Orleans? They have forgotten about the Saints. The Saints have been an irrelevant franchise the last couple of years. They've been a complete non-factor. And no doubt about it. They do not deserve to be considered a factor the last couple of years. But a lot has changed. And I think because of them being a non-factor, a lot of the media members have totally forgotten about them. And good on Keyshawn. I don't know his reasoning, but good on Keyshawn to look at that schedule, look at that division, look at Derek Carr, look at the potential, look at the roster and say, damn, they could be positioned to win it. I think it's a great pick to make, especially if you don't want to just pick chalk. If you don't want to just say, yeah, the Eagles. Yeah, they were there last year, sure. I think this is a fantastic pick to make.
So here's why y'all don't like the New Orleans Saints.
Yes.
Because they lost last year. They were banged up. They were hurt. The head coach of Sean Payton was doing television. Dennis Allen comes in. He doesn't get any respect because he got fired as a Raider coach, just like everybody else got fired as Raider coaches. You look at that and you say it's not sexy to you. But here's what I would say. When you look at the new quarterback, they went through 3 quarterbacks last year. Michael, you know good and well you can't win with the 3rd quarterback. You can't win with Taysom Hill, Andy Dalton. You can't win with Jameis Winston. Okay?
Yes,
they
true.
go out there and they get Derek Carr. Yeah, Derek Carr, who is that? What is that? Think about the division. Think about the division for a minute.
Yes.
You think it's murderous row? You
No,
think
it's
when
not.
you're playing against Baker Mayfield twice and Bryce Young twice,
Tell
and
him.
you think about Desmond Ritter
Twice.
you're set up for success. Now check this out though, Skip. The opponents.
Now the division is one thing, but the rest of the schedule, I have exhaustingly talked about this. You cannot make an easier schedule. Bottom line. The only way you could have made it easier, and this is controversial, is to move the Rams out and put the Cardinals in as the NFC West team. That's it. But the Rams might not even be that much better than the Cardinals by when we play the Rams. Who knows? You know, Stafford gets banged up. Cooper Kupp, I don't even know if he can walk right now. He's on my fantasy team. Who says the Rams are that much better than the Cardinals? The rest of it is I think we play every single quarterback drafted this year. We play everyone, every bad quarterback, or every below average quarterback. The best quarterbacks we play is Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, and Kirk Cousins. And we play Goff and Lawrence at home. And Lawrence is on a Thursday night game. It's set up. It is set up. And another thing with Derek Carr. All Derek Carr has, because our schedule is so weak and because the NFC is so weak, all Derek Carr has to be is like a top half quarterback. He doesn't have to be a top 10 guy. He doesn't have to be a top 5 guy. He just has to be a top half guy. Why? Because we play bottom half quarterbacks. So if Derek Carr is a top half quarterback, that means in 90% of our games, we will have the best quarterback on the field. And in the NFL, if you have the best quarterback on the field, you got a real good chance at winning football games. If Derek Carr is playing in the top half of the NFL quarterbacks, is he that much worse than Dak Prescott? No. Is Dak Prescott a top half quarterback? Probably not. Would he be that much worse than Brock Purdy? Is Brock Purdy a top half quarterback? Probably not. In the NFC, the only quarterback that I would say is for sure a top half guy is Jalen Hurts. And Kirk Cousins is like right at the fringe. That's it. So if Derek Carr can just be top half good, you're talking about going through basically the entire season, including the playoffs, where you have the better quarterback. That is nuts.
Okay? They play 4 rookies. They play rookies 4 times. They got Ryan Tannehill. Did that scare you? Bryce Young, I mentioned. Jordan Love, did that scare you? Baker Mayfield scare you? Does Mac Jones, C.J. Stroud scare you? Trevor Lawrence scare you? You compile playmaker. When you compile them victories and them wins,
yes,
you get home field advantage.
Yes.
They got to come through New Orleans in a hostile environment. I'm just telling you, I understand the sexiness of Philadelphia. I can tell you this, the Cowboys aren't winning the division because of Philadelphia.
This is a fantastic point. I'm actually kind of shocked here. This is a fantastic point because Philadelphia doesn't matter. The Eagles are good. We don't play the Eagles. We don't play the Eagles until the playoffs. All right? I understand the Eagles are good. The 49ers, they're good. We don't play them until the playoffs. We play a bunch of bottom feeders and rookie quarterbacks. So what happens if we have the 1 seed? What happens if we have the 2 seed? If we have the 2 seed, one of those 2 really good teams are coming to New Orleans. And if we have the 1 seed, every team is coming to New Orleans. And if you told me that we're playing the San Francisco 49ers in a playoff game in New Orleans, and it's Derek Carr versus Brock Purdy at home, I'm feeling pretty confident. Top to bottom, the Niners are a better roster, but you start throwing in those variables of at home in the playoffs, all that stuff, the Eagles are the only team that I would sit here and say they are markedly better than the Saints. That's it. One team. in the NFC.
Eagles are going to win the division,
Stop.
so you're going to be on the road.
Yeah.
But winning divisions does nothing for you. We are talking about Super Bowl.
It helps you get to
that garbage.
It helps you get to the Super Bowl. If you got home field advantage throughout the playoffs like Kansas City has had for the last 5 years, it's an easier path. You know that,
Yeah,
playmaker.
it is.
You've been to 3 Super Bowls. You know. If you get that first or that second seed, you got a hell of a chance of making the Super Bowl. I'm giving them that high seed because of who they play in the division.
100%.
Everything
Couldn't
else
agree
is
more.
cake for me.
Okay, and Derek Carr has done what in his postseason life?
Okay, so now you want to argue with me on that?
Okay. Understandable. Like if you say, well, what has Derek Carr done? What has Dak Prescott done? What has Kirk Cousins done? Well, look at the rest of the NFC. Like it's just the same person. It's the exact same person. All the other NFC teams, like any of them, they're just the same. So I'm with Keyshawn. If you can tell me, and again, this is all banking on the Saints winning 11, 12, 13 games. Because if there are a 12-win, division-winning 1 or 2 seed, it's not going to sound crazy to say this team can go to the Super Bowl. It sounds crazy now, but talk to me in 12 wins.
Not argue with me, communicate with me. I don't like to say argue. I don't like to say argue. Let's say communicate. Let's go with his first head coach in Dennis Allen, with Al Davis as the owner. Craziness, as you know. You covered it. You go to Jack Del Rio. Successful year. Successful year. Could have been the MVP, got hurt. Helped them get to the playoffs. They lose to Houston. He's out. Then you go to John Gruden. Come on, man, stop. We all know what that is.
You know what that is.
Then you get Rich Bisaccia, kept as a head coach.
I agree.
He willed them to the playoffs and cleaned up all that other mess. Then you get Josh McDaniels. So Josh McDaniels doesn't like him. He's not his quarterback. You kick him out, and the first thing people say is, well, he didn't like him. He got to get rid of him. He's not a franchise quarterback. Meanwhile, defensively, since 2016, they've had in points allowed, the worst defense.
The Raiders,
2016, they ranked dead last.
I'm pretty sure Derek Carr has never had higher than a 25th ranked defense in the NFL.
Dead last. And then I can go Raiders. When he was with the Raiders, no help.
Yeah.
He had no receivers. They got rid of Amari Cooper. Crabtree was at the end of his career when he was there. All he had was Darren Waller until he got Devontae Adams, which they lit it up together last year. But again, defensively, he gets zero help. Now you got a team. You got Honey Badger on the defensive side. You got Cam Jordan on the defensive side.
Lattimore.
You got Lattimore in the shutdown corners.
Mario Davis.
All I'm saying, and then offensively, look at the weapons. And it is a little bit of nepotism on my side.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I'm not going to.
If you look at the weapons, right? If you run down just the offensive weapons, who would you rather have? Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, and Brandon Cooks, or Michael Gallup or something? Or would you rather have Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and Michael Thomas? The weapons are deep. That's another thing the Saints aren't getting credit for. They are a deep team. I mean, anytime Jamal Williams is your backup running back, anytime Michael Thomas is your second best wide receiver, they're a deep offensive roster. On top of, like Keyshawn said, a very good defense. A defense with a legitimate shutdown corner, a legitimate superstar linebacker, a strong secondary. The team is built well. It's not like we're talking about the Panthers or something where they don't have the roster to take advantage of this week's schedule. The Saints have a deep roster.
Wait, well, go ahead. Michael Thomas is your.
It's my nephew.
Thank you.
My blood. Okay. And I'm going to ride or die with blood. It's thicker than water, Skip.
Okay, so you admit.
I admit that. I have no problem. Hey, playmaker, I have no problem with that. At the end, though, Skip, Alvin Kamara, he'll miss 3 games, but that's okay. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
But you got Olave, you got Juwan Johnson at the tight end, you got Mikey at the receiver position. Come on,
he's
man,
Mikey.
stop.
Now he's Mikey. Okay.
That comes out because of the relationship. But you got to admit, when you think about it, because what you'll do, Skip and Mike, when we go to commercial break, y'all gonna sit there and go, yeah, Key does have a good point. That's all
I'm
saying.
sitting here saying Key does not have a good
Oh,
point.
come on.
No, I would not.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Michael, go.
There's no way I will say, Key, you have a point in this matter here. Now, listen, I love Michael Thomas, and I surely hope he gets back to his original form, the form that he is.
The only way you could say that Keyshawn does not have a good point is if you believe the Saints are going to win like 8 games. Because then, yes, they are not good enough to take advantage of the schedule. I believe that they are good enough to take advantage of the schedule. If they're an 8-win team and they lose 9 games, quick math, if they lose 9 games to some combination of the Texans and the Panthers and the Falcons and the Rams, the Bears, okay. All right. You got me. If they lose 9 games to those teams, I was wrong. Because if they lose 9 games to those teams, then Derek Carr is not very good. Coaching staff isn't very good. Olave is taking a step back. Defense isn't very good. Offensive line isn't like you can't lose to those teams and be viable at all. But there's no way you can tell me if this is a 10, 11, 12 win team that they don't have a shot at the Super Bowl.
Where he's one of the best receivers in the National Football League, and he has put on quite a career since he gotten in the league. But to lift the Saints out of that division, which is possible, but out of that conference, which is not possible, is impossible for the.
Oh, something else. Saints won, 7 games last year? They lost to the Bengals on a last 2-minute drive from Joe Burrow. They lost to the Vikings by a double doink whatever field goal in London. They lost to the Panthers at the last game of the season in a horrible effort. But you take 2 or 3 of those games, and all of a sudden this is a team that could have won 9 to 10 games with Andy Dalton as their quarterback. So it's not insane to say, well, damn, this is a 10-win team. This is a 9-win team from last year with nobody. With Andy Dalton. This is a team that took a 13-win Minnesota to the brink. This is a team that took Cincinnati to the brink. So if you look at it like that, like, man, this team wasn't awful last year. They were unlucky in some spots. They weren't awful. Is it crazy now to think about all these healthy players, Derek Carr come in, that they have the foundation to win? I don't think so.
Saints to get out of that conference. They may win that South. That South is wide open, even though I kind of like Atlanta, some of the things they're doing.
I do too.
But getting out of the conference, there is no way. No way. Because they don't have, I don't see the offensive firepower to play with the top teams in the NFC. I don't see them doing anything with Dallas, certainly. I don't see them being able to play with the Philadelphia Eagles. If they get in the playoffs, they'll go home right away, is how I see it, Skip.
Then they'll go home at home.
Go home right away.
No. You'll go as far as Derek Carr does not take you. That's what will be the bottom line.
Okay.
He always leaves you wanting. And by the way...
Well, you say that about your quarterback, too.
I do, in fact. So Derek Carr is Dak Prescott.
So if Derek Carr leaves you wanting, then what's your quarterback? What is it that your QB
I'm about to go in a second, but I need your Super Bowl winner.
I'm going to pick the Saints.
You're going to pick the
there
Saints
it is.
to win it
What a
all?
hero. What a guy. What a hero.
All.
Saints beat
I'm going to
Ravens.
pick them to win it all.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Now,
What a guy.
My turn. It is possible.
But I mean, like, ladies and gentlemen, I've worked myself into a shoot here. I've shot myself right into a work where I'm so up on this team. It's the perfect storm. Everything lines up. Every single thing lines up. And not to mention the Buccaneers game where we had like an 87% win chance and they blew it in Tampa. You take those 4 games that I just laid out with Cincinnati, Minnesota, Tampa, and Carolina. Saints were damn near a 10-win team last year. They were almost an 11-win team last year with Andy Dalton. I mean, and Skip kind of just alluded to it too, where Skip's about to pick the Cowboys, I guess. And he just said, Dak Prescott is Derek Carr. I don't think there's much difference between the Cowboys and the Saints, roster-wise. The only difference, I think, is the logo. The only difference, I think, is that one is the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, and one is a team that, as Skip Bayless just said, do they still play football down there in New Orleans? That's it. I mean, I would say we have a better roster than Minnesota. It's us and Philly. It's us and Philly. Philadelphia, if Philadelphia beats us in the NFC Championship game, okay, fine. But give me the double-digit win team that gets to play the playoffs at home. Give me them. All right, I just wanted to react to the Saints part. We're not going to listen to Skip's Cowboy stuff, or I guess Michael's going to pick the Ravens, guessing by the title. Let me know, ladies and gentlemen. And this video will come out. It'll probably come out the day of the first game. So I mean, this could age poorly. This could be one of those things where, as you're watching this video, the Titans could be putting it on us. I don't know. I'll probably schedule this to go out the morning of the week one. But so hopefully I'm not walking back from the Superdome and this video is playing while we just got drubbed 28-0. But let me know in the comments below, like, even who I really want to hear from. Obviously, I want to hear from Saints fans, but I really want to hear from non-Saints fans or non-biased Saints fans. Like, does this make sense? Did you forget about the Saints? Were they a team where you were like, man, I didn't even think about that, but they do have the easiest schedule in the NFL. They do have a good roster. They did almost win 10 to 11 games last year with Andy Dalton. Or, as a non-Saints fan, are you sitting there saying, like, this is just hopium? This is just, every fan thinks their team can win. I want to hear from you, and I also want to hear from Saints fans. What are you thinking? Are we thinking NFC Championship or bust? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Who dat? God, I hope. Please beat the Titans.